The morning sun cast long shadows across the Seoul Diplomatic Center as Dr. Hana Kim adjusted her tie nervously. Today would change everything for humanity, though she didn't know it yet. The Galactic Council's evaluation team was arriving in less than an hour to decide if Earth deserved membership in their vast interstellar community. Captain June Park stood beside her, his uniform crisp and formal. He had fought in 3 different wars, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the massive alien ship descending from the clouds like a floating city made of crystal and light. "Remember, Doctor," Kim whispered to the assembled human delegation, "be polite, be honest, and show them our best achievements." The ship landed without a sound. A section of its hull simply dissolved, and 5 beings stepped out onto Earth soil for the first time. The leader was tall and elegant, with skin that looked like polished silver and eyes that swirled with colors humans had no names for. Behind him walked creatures that seemed to be made of living crystal, floating energy beings, and something that looked like a walking tree. "I am Magistrate Veltar of the Galactic Council," the silver being said through a small device that translated his musical voice into perfect Korean and English. "We are here to evaluate your species for potential membership in our civilization." Dr. Kim stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Welcome to Earth, Magistrate. We are honored by your visit. I am Dr. Hana Kim, and this is Captain June Park. We have prepared a tour of our most advanced facilities." Their first stop was the Seoul Fusion Plant, where Dr. Minho Lee proudly explained how humans had learned to recreate the power of stars in controlled reactions. The alien delegation watched in silence as the massive machines hummed with barely contained energy. One of the crystal beings suddenly stepped backward, its body flashing warning colors. "They split atoms like children breaking toys," it whispered, to Veltar in a voice like wind chimes. Veltar raised a scanning device toward the fusion reactor. The device immediately began beeping frantically and displaying symbols that pulsed red. "This is highly irregular," he said, his voice troubled. "Your species manipulates fundamental forces with no apparent safety protocols." Dr. Lee looked confused. "But sir, fusion power is completely clean. We've eliminated all radioactive waste, and—" "You tear apart the building blocks of matter itself," interrupted another alien, this one resembling a floating jellyfish made of pure light. "Such recklessness is beyond comprehension." Captain Park exchanged worried glances with Dr. Kim as they moved to the next location. The Genomic Research Institute was Dr. Yuna Shin's pride and joy. Here, human scientists had learned to rewrite genetic codes to cure diseases that had plagued humanity for thousands of years. "Last month, we cured a 5-year-old girl of a genetic disorder that would have killed her before her 10th birthday," Dr. Shin explained enthusiastically. "We simply corrected the faulty DNA sequence." The tree-like alien actually stumbled backward at these words. "You corrupt the sacred patterns of life," it said in a voice like rustling leaves. "You rewrite the fundamental code of existence as if it were mere data." Young Haeun-nam, barely 18 and already Earth's leading quantum physicist, was waiting at the Quantum Computing Center. She had just achieved what human scientists thought impossible: instantaneous communication across vast distances using quantum entanglement. "Watch this," she said excitedly, activating her latest creation. "I can send a message to our Mars colony instantly, faster than light itself." The scanning devices in the aliens' hands began shrieking like alarm bells. 3 of the delegation members actually fled the building, their translators broadcasting phrases like dimensional violation and space-time contamination. Veltar's silver skin had turned a darker shade, like tarnished metal. "Child," he said to Haeun, "do you understand that you are manipulating the fundamental structure of reality?" Haeun shrugged. "Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Next week, I think I can figure out how to fold space for faster-than-light travel." The remaining aliens huddled together, speaking in rapid bursts of their various languages. Their translators picked up fragments: impossible recklessness, cosmic vandalism, and threat to galactic stability. General Su Choi, who had remained silent throughout the tour, finally spoke up. Is there a problem, Magistrate? These are humanity's greatest achievements. Veltar looked at the humans with something that might have been pity or horror. Your species has accomplished in mere decades what we considered impossible for millennia. You split atoms without fear, rewrite life itself without hesitation, and tear holes in the fabric of space-time as if it were paper. Because it works, Captain Park said simply. Our methods are efficient and effective. Efficient, repeated Veltar, as if the word itself was dangerous. Yes, that is precisely the problem. The alien delegation gathered near their ship, their scanners still beeping warnings about the contaminated environment. Veltar approached Dr. Kim one final time. We must return to Nexus Prime immediately, he announced. Your species requires extensive consultation. We will contact you with our decision. As the alien ship lifted silently into the sky, Dr. Kim turned to Captain Park. That didn't go well. No, Park agreed, watching the ship disappear among the stars. I don't think it did. None of them realized that humanity had just failed the most important test in their history, not for being too primitive, but for being too advanced. 3 months passed without a word from the Galactic Council. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, every screen on Earth suddenly activated at the same time. Television sets, computer monitors, smartphones, and even digital billboards all displayed the same image. Magistrate Veltar's silver face, his swirling eyes now dark with judgment. President Day Wan was eating breakfast in the Blue House when his security team burst into the room. Sir, you need to see this. It's happening everywhere, simultaneously. Veltar's translated voice echoed across the planet in every human language. People of Earth, the Galactic Council has reached its decision regarding your species' application for membership in our civilized community. Dr. Hana Kim stood frozen in her laboratory, watching the alien's face on her computer screen. Around the world, billions of humans stopped what they were doing to listen. After extensive deliberation and testimony from 47 member species, we have classified humanity as a toxic species. Your reckless manipulation of atomic forces, biological systems, and dimensional structures poses an unacceptable threat to galactic civilization. In the emergency bunker beneath Seoul, the Terran Coalition's leadership gathered around a massive conference table. Admiral Hyun Kang pulled up holographic displays showing the testimonies that had sealed humanity's fate. The first testimony came from the ethereal collective, beings of pure energy who had existed peacefully for over 10,000 years. Their representative, a shimmering cloud of light, spoke in musical tones. The humans split atoms as carelessly as we separate raindrops. They call it controlled fusion, but we see cosmic vandalism. In our civilization, we have used the same, safe solar collection methods for millennia. Why change what works safely? Minister Rena Bay shook her head in disbelief. Solar collection? We've moved beyond that primitive technology centuries ago. The next testimony was even more disturbing. The crystalline hegemony, a species that had achieved immortality through careful preservation of their crystal bodies, spoke through harmonious vibrations. The humans corrupt the sacred patterns of life itself. They rewrite genetic codes as if editing simple text files. Our people accept genetic disorders as natural fate, as intended by the universe. To change such things is to play with forces beyond mortal comprehension. Dr. Yuna Shin, who had spent her life curing genetic diseases, felt sick listening to these words. They let their children die from preventable conditions because they're afraid to act? The Verdani Collective, the tree-like beings, swayed as they spoke. We have observed their quantum manipulations with growing horror. They tear holes in space-time itself, calling it faster-than-light communication. Such dimensional violations could unravel the fabric of reality. Our species has communicated through root networks for 50,000 years. It is slow but safe. Captain June Park laughed bitterly. Root networks? No wonder they've made no progress in millennia. But the most damning testimony came from the Zephyrian Empire, an ancient civilization that had once been explorers and innovators. Their representative, a being that looked like a giant butterfly made of metal, spoke with obvious fear. Long ago, our ancestors attempted similar technological advances. The results were catastrophic. Entire star systems were lost to fusion accidents. Genetic experiments created plagues that lasted centuries. Dimensional research opened portals to hostile realities. We learned that safety requires avoiding such dangerous paths entirely. President Juan stood up slowly. They're not just risk-averse, they're traumatized. Something went wrong in their past, and they've been afraid to innovate ever since. Veltar's image continued speaking. The evidence is overwhelming. Humanity demonstrates the same reckless patterns that have destroyed civilizations before. Your fusion technology could destabilize entire solar systems. Your genetic manipulations could create uncontrollable mutations. Your dimensional experiments could tear apart the space-time continuum. Young Heun Nam, watching from her quantum laboratory, felt tears of frustration. But we've proven these technologies are safe when properly controlled. Therefore, Veltar announced, by unanimous vote of all council members, humanity is hereby classified as a toxic species and placed under immediate quarantine. Automated defense satellites are being deployed around your solar system as we speak. Any human vessel attempting to leave will be destroyed without warning to prevent contamination of civilized space. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. In the coalition bunker, Dr. Bora Yoon pulled up scanner readings from around the solar system. They're not bluffing. I'm detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our system. The satellites are already active. So we're prisoners, Admiral Kang said grimly. Locked in our own home because we're too advanced for their comfort. Dr. So? Kim studied the alien testimonies again. Look at the pattern. Every species that testified has been using the same technology for thousands of years. The ethereals still use solar panels. The crystallines still accept genetic death as natural. The Verdani still communicate through biological networks slower than our ancient internet. Minister Bay understood first. They've stopped evolving, all of them. They reached a certain level of technology and then froze there, too afraid to take the next step. President Juan nodded slowly. And when they see us taking those steps successfully, it terrifies them. We proved that their fears were holding them back. The question is, Captain Park said, looking at the defensive readings around their solar system, what do we do about it? Outside, the first of the alien warning beacons began broadcasting their message to any human ship that might attempt to leave. Warning. Toxic species quarantine in effect. Approach prohibited. Violators will be eliminated. Humanity was alone, branded as dangerous by a galaxy that had forgotten how to grow. Captain Wu Jin floated in the zero gravity of the New Dawn's observation deck, staring at the alien warning beacons that surrounded Earth's solar system like a cage of stars. The massive satellites pulsed with threatening red light, their automated voices broadcasting the same message over and over. Quarantine zone. Toxic species contained. Do not approach. His chief engineer, Tae Kim, drifted up beside him with a tablet full of scanner readings. I've been studying their technology for 3 months now, Captain. These beacons are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly old. What do you mean? Jin asked, still watching the distant lights that kept humanity trapped. The energy signatures haven't changed in over 1,000 years, Tae explained. They're using the exact same force field technology, the same power sources, the same defense patterns. It's like they built something that worked and then never improved it. Doctor, Bora Yoon pushed off from a nearby wall and joined them. As the ship's chief scientist, she had been analyzing every piece of alien technology they could scan from a distance. Tae is right. While we've been advancing exponentially, they've been standing still. Their force fields are predictable because they never evolved. Back on Earth, the Terran Coalition had been busy. President Daewon stood before a joint session of world leaders, displaying holographic evidence that would change everything. Citizens of Earth, he began, we have spent months analyzing our situation. What we discovered will shock you. The way, galaxy isn't more advanced than us. It's less advanced. Dr. Yoonji Park stepped forward to present her findings. For weeks, she had been comparing human technology with everything they could learn about the Galactic Council's member species. The ethereal collective still burns chemical fuels for energy, she announced. We mastered fusion power 50 years ago. The crystalline hegemony accepts genetic diseases as unchangeable fate. We rewrite DNA to cure cancer in children. The Verdani communicate through biological networks that transfer information slower than our 20th century internet. The assembled leaders murmured in amazement as the comparisons continued. The Zephyrian Empire uses mechanical computers that fill entire buildings to perform calculations our smartphones do instantly. The aquatic depth dwellers still use primitive sonar for navigation, while we have quantum sensors that can detect individual atoms. Minister Rena Bay stood up from her seat. Are you saying we're more technologically advanced than the entire Galactic Council? Not just more advanced, Dr. Park replied. We're advancing. They stopped growing centuries ago, maybe millennia ago. They reached a certain level of technology and froze there, too afraid to take risks. Admiral Hyun Kang pulled up military assessments. Their defensive systems are powerful but completely static. No adaptation, no innovation, no surprises. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical creativity. President Wan nodded grimly. They called us toxic because we represent everything they're afraid to become. We prove that progress is possible, that risks can be managed, that growth doesn't have to lead to destruction. Meanwhile, on the New Dawn, Captain Jin was making a decision that would change the course of human history. His crew gathered in the main conference room, floating around a holographic display of the alien blockade. The quarantine satellites detect ships by their energy signatures, Pilot Serio explained. But our quantum phase technology operates on completely different principles. To them, we might as well be ghosts. Engineer Kim grinned. Their scanners are looking for traditional fusion drives and metallic hulls. Our phase generators exist partially outside normal spacetime. Dr. Yoon activated a simulation showing how their ship could pass through the alien barriers. We phase shift the entire vessel into a quantum superposition. The barrier's force fields will pass right through us because technically we won't be completely in this dimension. Captain Jin looked around at his crew. They were young, brave, and brilliant. Each of them had grown up in a world where impossible was just another word for not yet invented. The Coalition has approved our mission, he announced. We're going to be the first humans to break the quarantine. Our destination is Haven's Rest, the neutral trading station at the edge of Council space. What if we're wrong? Siri asked. Quietly. What if their defenses adapt? Then we'll adapt faster, Jin replied with confidence. That's what humans do. Back on Earth, Dr. Hana Kim addressed the global population through every available communication channel. For months, we believed we had failed some great test. We thought we weren't good enough for galactic civilization. Today, we learned the truth. We didn't fail because we were too primitive. We failed because we were too advanced. She paused, letting the words sink in across the world. The Galactic Council fears us because we represent change. We prove that their 1,000-year stagnation was a choice, not a necessity. They locked us away, not to protect the galaxy from us, but to protect themselves from the uncomfortable truth that they stopped growing long ago. In laboratories around the world, human scientists worked with renewed purpose. The knowledge that they were pioneers rather than primitives energized every research project. Fusion reactors became more efficient, genetic therapies advanced at incredible speeds. Quantum computers solved problems that had puzzled mathematicians for decades. The New Dawn completed its final preparations. As Captain Jin strapped himself into the command chair, he received a message from President Wan. Show them what humanity can do. Show them what they've been missing. The quantum phase generators hummed to life, and the ship began to shimmer like a mirage. Outside, the alien warning beacons continued their eternal broadcast, unaware that humanity was about to slip through their perfect cage like smoke through a net. The New Dawn shimmered like heat waves rising from summer pavement as Captain Jin activated the quantum phase generators. Around the ship, reality itself seemed to bend and twist as the vessel entered a state between dimensions. Phase shift at 60%, reported Engineer Tae Kim, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Hull integrity stable. We're becoming translucent to normal matter. Pilot Siri O watched her instruments with fascination. It's like we're becoming a ghost ship. I can see my hands through the control panel. Dr. Bora Yoon monitored the quantum readings. The alien beacons are scanning right through us. Their sensors can't detect something that exists partially outside their dimensional framework. Captain Jin felt a strange, tingling sensation as his body existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. How are we doing, Tay? Phase shift. At 90%. Approaching the first warning beacon now. On the main screen, the alien satellite grew larger. It was massive, the size of a city block, covered in weapons and scanning arrays. Warning lights flashed across its surface as it detected something approaching, but its weapons couldn't lock onto a target that barely existed in normal space. The beacon is firing, Siri announced calmly. Brilliant energy beams lanced through the space where the new dawn should have been. Instead, they passed harmlessly through the phase-shifted ship like sunlight through a window. The beams struck empty space behind them and dissipated into nothing. Direct hit and no damage, Tay reported with a grin. We might as well be made of air. They passed through the first defensive line without triggering a single alarm. The beacons, automated systems, recorded the passage of energy signatures, but couldn't classify what they had detected. To the alien computers, it looked like a minor sensor malfunction. The second line of defense was more sophisticated. Massive energy nets stretched between floating platforms, designed to catch any ship that might somehow slip past the outer beacons. But the nets, like everything else the Council had built, were designed to stop normal matter traveling through normal space. Approaching the energy grid, Siri announced. Looks impressive, doesn't it? The nets sparked and crackled with enough power to vaporize a moon. Warning broadcasts filled the communication channels in dozens of alien languages, all saying the same thing. Lethal barrier ahead. Turn back or be destroyed. Phase shift at maximum, Tay reported. We're barely touching this dimension now. The New Dawn sailed through the energy nets like a submarine passing through fishing lines. The deadly barriers didn't even register the ship's presence. On the alien monitoring stations, technicians stared at their screens in confusion as their instruments detected brief quantum fluctuations but nothing they could classify as a threat. We're through the inner perimeter, Jin announced to his crew. Setting course for Haven's Rest. Time to introduce ourselves to the galaxy. The journey to the neutral trading station took 12 hours. As they traveled, the crew monitored alien communication channels and learned about the galaxy they were entering. Most of the chatter was routine trade discussions, but some conversations revealed interesting details. Listen to this, Dr. Yoon said, playing a translated message. A crystalline merchant is complaining that his cargo ship broke down again. He says the engine design hasn't been updated in 800 years. 800 years? Siri shook her head. We redesign our engines every few years. Another message caught their attention. A Verdani colony was requesting emergency supplies because their power plants were failing. The technology they used was so old that replacement parts were becoming impossible to find. No wonder they're afraid of change, Tay observed. They've been using the same equipment for so long, they've forgotten how to innovate. Haven's Rest appeared on their sensors as a massive wheel-shaped station rotating slowly in space. Ships from dozens of different species were docked at its arms, creating a colorful display of alien architecture. The station itself looked ancient but well-maintained. Dropping phase shift, Tay announced, returning to normal space. The New Dawn materialized near the station's docking bay like a ship emerging from fog. Immediately, every sensor on Haven's Rest locked onto them. Alarm klaxons began wailing throughout the station. Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately, came an urgent transmission in the common galactic language. You are not registered in our database. Captain Jin activated the communication system. Haven's Rest Control, this is Captain Wu Jin of the Earth vessel New Dawn, requesting permission to dock. Silence stretched for long seconds. Then, did you say Earth? The quarantined world? How did you get past the Council blockade? We found a way through, Jin replied simply. We come in peace and hope to trade. On the station, panic spread through the docking bays. Alien merchants and traders scattered in terror, abandoning their cargo and fleeing to their ships. Emergency broadcasts warned of toxic contamination and dimensional breach protocols. But not everyone fled. From the shadows of the loading bays, a few curious figures watched the human ship dock. These were the outcasts, the rebels, the ones who had always questioned their society's excessive caution. A six-legged creature that looked like a metallic spider approached the new dawn cautiously. Its translation device crackled to life. "Are you really from the Forbidden World? The one they say manipulates atoms and corrupts genetics?" Captain Jin smiled as he opened the airlock. "We prefer to think of it as problem-solving. What's your name, friend?" "I am called Click," the creature replied, its mandibles chattering nervously. "I have been cast out from my hive for asking dangerous questions about improving our technology." Behind, Click, other figures emerged from hiding. A young ethereal whose energy patterns flickered with curiosity. A small crystalline being whose surface showed colors of rebellion rather than conformity. A Verdani sapling who had been exiled for suggesting genetic improvements to help her people survive harsh environments. "Welcome to Haven's Rest," Click said, his fear giving way to excitement. "We have been waiting for someone like you, though we did not know it. Someone who is not afraid to grow." Captain Jin looked at this collection of alien misfits and smiled. "Then we're going to get along just fine." 1 year after the New Dawn broke through the galactic blockade, the Outer Rim colonies were no longer dying in darkness. Fusion reactors built with human technology now powered entire star systems that had suffered energy shortages for decades. The crystalline mining colony of Epsilon 7, which had been slowly freezing as their ancient power cores failed, now thrived under the warm glow of clean fusion energy. Dr. Kira Song stood in the medical bay of New Sol Station, humanity's first permanent outpost beyond Earth. Around her, alien patients who had traveled across the galaxy for treatment were walking out healthy after procedures their own governments had banned as too dangerous. Young Verdani child named Sprout was taking her first steps on legs that had been twisted by genetic defects since birth. Her parents wept tears of joy as Dr. Song's gene therapy worked its miracle. On the Verdani homeworld, children like Sprout were left to suffer because genetic modification was considered an abomination against nature. "The council calls this corruption," Sprout's mother said through her translator, her bark-like skin trembling with emotion. "But you gave my daughter a future." Nearby, an elderly ethereal named Shimmer was learning to use his new artificial organs. His energy-based species had never developed medical technology beyond basic first aid, believing that illness was simply fate. The biomechanical heart that Dr. Song had designed would keep him alive for centuries. "My people would exile me if they knew," Shimmer whispered, his light pattern showing gratitude mixed with fear. "But I choose to live rather than die for their comfort." The medical station was just one example of humanity's growing influence. Throughout the galaxy, secret colonies and hidden research stations were springing up as alien dissidents sought out human technology and philosophy. On the asteroid mining platform called Freedom's Edge, Click the metallic spider creature supervised the installation of quantum excavators. The machines could extract precious metals from solid rock without the environmental destruction that traditional methods caused. His people had been strip mining planets for thousands of years, never imagining there could be a better way. "Efficiency," Click said to his human partner, engineer Tae Kim. "Your species understands that better solutions exist for every problem. My hive mind could never accept such thinking." Engineer Kim adjusted the quantum field generators with practiced ease. "The funny thing is, we don't consider ourselves particularly efficient. We just keep trying to do things better." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was facing the largest political crisis in its history. In the grand chambers of Nexus Prime, Magistrate Veltar watched as yet another member species announced their withdrawal from the organization. The Zephyrian representative, her metallic butterfly wings dulled with shame, spoke to the nearly empty assembly. "Our young are dying from diseases that humans cure in hours. Our worlds suffer power failures while human fusion provides unlimited energy. We can no longer remain in an organization that forbids progress." She was the 43rd species to leave the Council in the past 6 months. Entire sectors of the galaxy were now governed by the Progressive Alliance, a loose confederation of species that had embraced human technology and innovation. Veltar's silver skin had turned almost black with stress. The remaining council members sat in their ancient seats, clinging to traditions that no longer made sense in a rapidly changing galaxy. The ethereal representative was a dim flicker of his former brightness. The crystalline delegate's surface showed stress fractures from internal conflict. "We face extinction through irrelevance," Veltar announced to the dwindling assembly. "Species that we guided for millennia now see us as obstacles to progress, rather than guardians of stability." In the Council's Intelligence Center, reports poured in from across the galaxy. Human-designed starships were achieving faster-than-light speeds that had been considered impossible. Planets that had been barren for centuries were being terraformed, using genetic engineering techniques. Diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia were being eliminated through targeted therapies. But perhaps most disturbing to the Council was the philosophical change spreading through the galaxy. Young aliens who had grown up believing that safety required stagnation were now embracing calculated risks as the path to advancement. On the trading station Haven's Rest, which had become an unofficial capital of the Progressive Alliance, Captain Wujin addressed a gathering of species representatives. The station had expanded dramatically as more aliens sought refuge from their risk-averse governments. "We never intended to start a revolution," Jin said to the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. "We just wanted to share what we had learned. But we discovered that the galaxy was ready for change. It had been ready for centuries." Whisper, the young ethereal who had been one of the first to join the human cause, glowed brighter as she spoke. "My people lived in fear of progress for so long that we forgot what growth felt like. Humans reminded us that advancement and safety can coexist." Facet, the exiled crystalline engineer, resonated with harmonious tones of agreement. "The Council taught us that any risk was too much risk. Humans showed us that no risk means no reward." Back on Nexus Prime, Magistrate Veltar received the final report from his intelligence network. The Progressive Alliance now controlled over 60% of inhabited star systems. Trade routes that had remained unchanged for millennia were being revolutionized by human transportation technology. Scientific discoveries that had eluded galactic civilization for thousands of years were being made weekly. The irony was not lost on him. In trying to contain humanity's toxic influence, the Council had created exactly the revolution they had feared. By labeling progress as dangerous, they had made innovation attractive to every species that had grown tired of stagnation. A message appeared on Veltar's communication system from Dr. Hana Kim, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Progressive Alliance. "Magistrate, we extend an invitation to join us. Your experience could help guide this transition to benefit everyone." Outside his window, ships powered by human technology carried mixed crews toward discoveries that his people had thought impossible. The galaxy was growing again, learning again, dreaming again. For the first time in centuries, the future was unpredictable. And somehow, that felt like hope.